All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Anna McGee. I do a Sunday morning live chat at 10 a.m. every Sunday on certain topics that hopefully help. I'm even bumping down the age to like women under like 50, 45. If I could even reach some 30-year-olds to start watching their health, I would love that. So, this morning's topics are going to be just a little conversation I have heard through the last week or during the last week. I mostly have women in house. I do have a few gentlemen, and I did ask one of them a question after we heard um, some self talk that women do, and I asked him about that. And then I'd like to take you on a short little um, exercise on taking you through the first your perfect week. That just making sure I'm on here. So I am on. So let's see here. Let your perfect week. But I thought at first I would maybe take you through my journey. I don't know if I've ever really. I know people know that I've managed some health clubs and I did some bodybuilding shows back in the day. But I just wanted to. Actually, someone asked me a question and they asked me some more detailed questions, and I thought, oh, I should look into that, and hopefully something that I might offer will help you. And I have notes here to the side because I have a tendency to go off topic, not off topic, but on a little bit of a rant, and I don't want to have this take the whole half hour. So I'm gonna call it a transformation journey. Um, Back in the mid 90s, I had, just this frustrating cycle of not, being fed up with where you are, promising yourself you'll make some changes. I know I've heard, that's kind of what I try to help you guys with, like, especially when we're over 50 and all of a sudden we're trying to make health changes and we've had the same brain for 50, 55, 60 years. And those are lots of old habits that are in there, right? So just promising yourself you'll change only to find yourself back to square one. I went through that all of that back then. That was me, high school athlete. I was a three-sport athlete, got out of it after high school, went not great choices for close to 10 years. Wasn't horrible, but just not, always being a little bit like, this is not who I want to be. Not that I wasn't a bad person or anything like that, but I'm just like, this is not what I want to feel like. Gained, in that time frame, whatever that was in there, close to, I was pushing 35 pounds of weight gain, and just knowing what I used to do and where this was going to head. And I just knew that I had to make a change. And so, for years, that was kind of my reality, that kind of mindset. I think I've heard that from a lot of you too. Like, it's frustrating. You're like, I just don't feel, and it's hard to make the changes, right? So, and I was just utterly, you get to where you beat yourself up a little bit, and I started really listening to myself, and like, I don't want to talk to myself that way. Who wants to talk to themselves that way, right? So, I knew deep down that I really wanted to change just my health, and physically I didn't feel good in my body, and that's different for everybody. I realized that, but I just knew, like, this whole thing going on here, Anderson, it's not working for you anymore. So I have a mindset, just because of the parents that I grew up with, were very calm, were very consistent, So both my parents were like that. My mom was like that, and I thank her for that. Being very consistent on meals she made, and we got haircuts every 6 weeks, and we went to the dentist here, and all these things. So I'm thankful for that. I had a mother like that, that was just true consistency. Everybody got confirmed. We all got confirmed. We all went to church on Sundays. It's just this kind of schedule. So that's the kind of mindset I knew. And I knew that, number one, I'm a gal who I'm not a good human if I'm hungry. I'm just not. So I took, I guess the thing, I do have some, we talk about pictures a little bit, maybe before and after pics. I had some social events that I went to that I was heavier like that. And I just mean, whenever I talk about this, I just mean personally for me. Because I did a post about a year ago on the changes of that as far as workouts and stuff. And I had my two high school girlfriends that I grew up with, like, you were beautiful then. I'm like, I get that. But I'm just like, inside, I think we all have that voice. We're like, that's just not, I don't feel that way, you know, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but it's a battle to try to get out of that kind of mindset. So, um, now when I look back, I just see someone that, you know, I look at her face and I'm like, that's was just trying to figure all that out. And it was a smile, but like you're kind of a sad smile. Like I just not where I want to be. Not that I wasn't a good friend and a good wife and, you know, things like that. A good daughter. It wasn't any of those things. I was a good employee, all those things. But you just like inside there's something that you just kind of wanted a little more of. And I just wanted to feel better. I think at the end of the day, we all just want to feel better, right? And everything goes together with that. You know, I scrutinized every angle, hoping to, you know, find these dramatic shifts overnight. I'm not crazy so, but you know, just little things like that. It takes a while to figure out. And at the time I was cutting hair, I was a hairstylist, and right across the street, a woman's workout world opened up, and I thought, okay, that's convenient. I can go there during the day. I went there, and it was, you know, it was all women, so I was very comfortable. I said, I'm gonna go 2 times a week. For some reason, I just didn't have a mindset like I wanted to do. I was just still, you know, even though I had some strength training in my years before, I had a little bit of a knowledge, but I'm like, I'm really starting from scratch. So I just wanted to, I knew I'd probably be sore. So I just like, I'm gonna go twice a week and just mind my own business and do a little bit, you know, and I stayed there. Oh gosh, it was about a year. It took me a year that I lost about 32 pounds. It wasn't 6 weeks, it wasn't 6 months. It was a long process. There was months at a time. You're like, is anything even happening? You know, that was me too. I mean, I know I want to talk about this a little bit because I have a lot of new women that are reaching out to me, and I think they just think like right here where I'm at right now, it's like always been that way, you know. So, and it hasn't. It hasn't for any of us. So, I was doing the same thing. I didn't really I just started to eat a little bit less calories. I now that I am where I'm at, I do eat in a more macro kind of mindset. We talk a lot about protein, but back then I just started to cut out. I really cut back on alcohol. Not that I was a heavy drinker or anything like that, but I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna work out tomorrow. I just kind of had a mindset like that probably is not the best thing to do. And there was magazines, there was no internet, there was no nothing back then. So it was, yeah. So I just had to go by how I felt and things like that. So I ate what I normally ate, but I just ate a little bit less. In fact, I will be honest with you and tell you my Thursdays were my day off from Marlis Airport, and I ate once that day. That was my treat, and I went to McDonald's. And I still lost weight, but I only ate there like once a week on Thursdays. Let's see. Where am I at here? They had a scale there. There was girls always trying to help me with exercises and this and that, and I thought that was kind of cute because I did have some knowledge of that. But I remember when I joined there, I wore big loose clothing, loose sweatpants, loose sweatshirts, and I think I read an article in the Shape magazine that if you don't see it, you're not going to lose it. You know, and I don't have a really a beat up kind of a mindset where I thought that was like, oh, that's horrible to read that. You should, whatever. But I did. I got a looser tank top and I started wearing some shorts, and it did make a difference on how I looked at, because you can hide things and whatever. And then you still weigh and measure, and I know that I lost inches in that year, and I lost 31 pounds or something like that, but over a year. I never lost 10 pounds in 1 month ever. So I'm, and that's why I love the fact now that there's some body composition scales. I have one here. I'm adamant, if I know anybody's on, especially a GLP-1, I like them to weigh on my scale because I want them to see other numbers besides a number, that you weigh, because it's so much more than that. But they didn't have that, but we did do measurements, and that's kind of the old school way of doing that, right? It's not, my whole thing is like fitness isn't about these big leaps and bounds. I mean, there are some workouts where you're going to feel like, oh my God, I felt amazing. And then this last week for some reason, I love how it kind of runs in, everybody runs together. Like everybody was tired. Everybody was like, ugh, it's funny how that goes in my studio here. We're like, I felt the same way, but we still came in, we still got it done, and you just power through. Yeah, so those scales do not tell the full story, and they didn't with me either. I'm sure that, going to McDonald's and not eating, that was my intermittent fasting day. I have a client who is really trying hard, Tracy. She's trying to make some really good changes. She's doing awesome. And her husband decided he was just going to intermittent fast on Mondays. And we laugh about it until I just wrote this thing up this morning. I'm like, I did that. I intermittent fasted on Thursday. So I've done that, Tracy, if you're listening. So um, let's see what else. Um, the physical change in my body was just kind of a byproduct of something far more profound happening inside, my commitment to a healthier lifestyle. So I call that like the long game. The long game is like what I'm doing today. And it's hard to think about that. Will this affect me next month? I know you hear a lot about, like, if you even check anything out on social media, they're like, think about a year from now. And that has come out of my mouth too, but I'm like, think of it like for next month, right? What's the change? But the biggest revolution that I found was in my mindset of just playing this long game, talking to myself nicer, being proud of myself for getting to the gym twice a week, and even more so. That was just weights, but what I did, what was, I don't know if you guys are like this, but I'm like this. They had a class on Sundays that was called the super class. I think it was noon to 1:30, and I'm like, this is what you've done to your body, Anna. You're going to go to that class. And I went to that class after maybe 6 months of being a member there, and I did the whole thing. It was low impact aerobics. I love it, low impact, and a half hour of like butts and guts or something like that. And I went home and threw up and spent the rest of the day in bed. And I'm like, that's what you've done. That's what you've done to your body, Anna. So, and I had that mindset of like, you're going to go back next Sunday too and do the same thing. So it's okay to feel that way, I think, get uncomfortable. And yeah, kind of funny, but that probably scared some of you, sorry, but that's what I did. It got better and better, and then I was teaching it. Then they asked me, like, you should be an instructor, you should manage, and that's how my whole journey started in the gym business. So, and I will always be so grateful for that shift of the mental shift, because you have to have that in order to get the physical shift and to make all these other choices with like food and movement. And I realized I love some of the ladies that come to this new class now. Some have not really done anything. And I'm so used to in my head, like, yeah, eat the protein, gotta move, gotta walk, gotta this. And it's a lot to take on. It's too much. Like our brain can really only handle like maybe 3 things. You got your family, maybe you got a job, and then maybe your health. Kind of in that order, right? And so that's it. So when you think about your health, if you're going, I'm going to work out, I got to eat right. When you're beginning with all that, it's too much. And that's why most fail, because it's too much to fit into your life that you've never thought about or done before. So I get you. So why this matters, because you probably are like, well, that was so long ago, Anna, what does it matter today? It was in the 90s and now it's 2025, right? It matters today. So, that was a long time ago. Yep, you're right, right? This has been a journey that I've been on for many, many years, and I'm still learning, and I actually still learn so much from the clients that I have and just from being in this group, from questions that I get. It's not about the before and after. It's no specific moment in time that I can put my finger on and go, that's what changed it. It's accumulation of years of learning how to, like, nothing was perfect for me. Like, I went to weddings and probably had too much champagne and too many pieces of cake, but the shift was not letting that last for the next month. Like, well, fuck it. I'm just like, I screwed it up. I'm done. Just going back on track, getting up the next morning, having a good breakfast, going for a walk, things like that. So that is the biggest challenge that in my mind, that I think we have to look at. And only because a couple of you posted from my Friday post in this group, it was more about the workout's fun. It's an hour, but it's the rest of the 23 hours of the day. That really is the part. It's like, that's who you're living with. That's who you're by yourself with in the car. You're the mom, you're the worker. You're trying to fit all this in. It's that really plays the long game in all of this, and how you think about things and how you plan on things and not take on too much. So we talk a lot about stress. I'm just going to throw this in because I just heard this quote this morning. Where all, you get this too. You're always supposed to like handle your stress better, lower your stress. There's never a time in our lives when we're not going to feel stressed. So, and then this person said, the only time you're not stressed is when you're dead. So, but the more you can take care of yourself, I think you just become stronger in a way where you can handle stresses and figure out that's not worth the stress in my life, right? So, yeah. Let's see. What else do I have? habits speak volumes about the power of consistency. So I thank my mom again for the art of consistency. It sounds way easier than what it is. Um, yeah, my personal experience from all those years ago shaped my entire approach as what I coach like today. It's nothing like I'm not, like a lot of gals think, oh, I'm just gonna kick your ass. I don't kick anybody's ass. I want everybody to learn how to squat, and we're gonna squat for a long time. We're gonna do the same squats, maybe with the same weight, get good at it. So there's just this long, long game approach. And because that's what it's all about. Like, how do you want to feel? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. When I was in my 40s, I wasn't thinking when I was squatting, like, this is going to come in handy when I'm 80. I was not thinking that. But now that I'm this age, I'm like, this is going to come in handy when I'm 80. Just had a gal say when we did step ups the other day, she goes, I thought of you when we did step ups because I was on my hike and I had to step 1 foot up on a really high rock, one-legged up there, and she did it. So they come in handy. So I know what it feels like to struggle, to doubt and to finally break through. There's lots of low times like that when you're tired. I think I had a client come in and she said, I read this study that it said if you don't sleep at least 8 hours the night before you work out, that you get 18% less muscle protein synthesis from your workout. And she's like, I didn't know if I should come in today. And I'm like, well, how about if you're like 80% good, out of 100%, you're 82%, like you're good. And she's like, oh, so social media out there, all these Instagram, influencers, they're all going to say, you got to do this and you got to make sure you got to sleep 8 hours. I mean, I went years on 5 hours of sleep. I'm going to be honest. I had a kid in hockey and a full-time job and, running around, all this kind of stuff. And did I work out tired? Yeah. Did I stay in shape? Yeah. But the long game plays out. Now I know that wasn't the best choice, but sometimes you just have to do that, right? You're like, and really listen to like, do I absolutely need to sleep today? And then yes, but can you get through it? Yeah. I think I said out of 1,000 workouts, I think I'm worked out 900 of them were really, really tired, and 990 were like really tired, right? So, but we just adjust your workout. You just go a little bit less that day. Maybe it's a nice long walk. So, but yeah, I don't think that's so. That makes people not start too. Well, I don't sleep 8 hours a night, so I better not start. Well, I don't have a gym membership, so I better not start. So try not to take that mindset. Just try to start with wherever you are. I'm sharing this, mostly because I love consistency, and that's what I want you to get most out of it. The same as focus of your self-love. I think when you finally decide like, hey, I got to start loving myself and taking care of myself. Mindset over scales, this number on a scale, I've seen that it can wreck you, and it shouldn't, but I get from the past, if you've done other things that are just like, so, you're just, I got to see that number go down, and then it affects your mindset. That's work to be done there, instead of thinking negatively about a choice, like, oh, I really screwed up last night, or I meant to go to this social event and I had good intentions of only having 1 glass of wine or not having the dessert or something like that. If you had intentions of doing that, instead of thinking all this like we tend to do as women, oh, well, see, you can't do that, you can't even do that, instead of going, how can I plan better for that next time? Because that's going to happen again, right? You're going to go to a birthday, you're going to go to a wedding, you're going to go to a class reunion, you're going to go on a weekend with the girls, you're going to do these things. And if you just want to go let loose and just do what you always do and have some fun, be good with that, and that's great. But if you have better intentions, like, I'm just going to try to watch it, the older I get, I gain 10 pounds on a weekend if I fuck up, so I do. So learn from it. Like, instead of going, oh, you stupid, you this, because that's what I hear. I'm sorry, and I hope none of them are you that say that, but take the other stance of like the brain, like, okay, how can I prepare myself better next time? And that gives it a positive, edge to it, right? So let's see. Also, if you're new to that, it's about starting where you are with what you have and trusting the process. I guess that's what I have learned the most from playing the long game. Like, there's going to be days, there's going to be weeks, your brain's going to go, just take the day off, just have the French fries, and just the more you can just overcome that with positive self-talk, like, okay, I'm going to be aware because I'm super hungry right now and I want to drive through and go to McDonald's and get the French fries because in my book, those are the best French fries ever. So you build that muscle of like, no, I'm not doing that. And then it becomes not even a thought in your brain. Like not that I'm telling everybody to quit drinking, but as we get older, it affects our bodies. It's not good for us. And I just, over the years, because I have had early morning clients for so long, that I just, over time, slowly just eliminated alcohol, and it's not even a thought in my mind at all. The other thing that I tend to help clients with, playing the long game, because you might not be surrounded by people that, family, coworkers, friends, that you are really wanting to make some changes, and not that they're being not supportive, but they'll question you. Like when I have clients that are really trying to make a change, I'm like, let's prepare for this weekend. What are you going to say when they're saying, oh, you can drink more because you've been good, all that. Like, let's prepare for that. So that type of mindset helps. Like if you have something coming up, like I really don't want to lose my shit or whatever you call it, that's helpful. I give everybody my phone number. Text me if you need some help. I will back you. There's also something I remember a story about my mom. I go back to my mom because she was Mrs. Olson. She loved her black coffee. She spent 1 year in college, and she had friends that went to college and worked, and she was always thinking of herself less because she didn't do what they did. And I remember one night I was in high school, and my mom, I saw her go outside the back porch, and she had like sweatpants on and her bandana on. And I said, "Oh, where are you going?" Because she didn't have the dog with her or anything. She goes, I'm gonna go run." And she did it at dusk when it was getting dark because she didn't want anybody to know or see her out there. Because she herself, I love the determination, like she wanted to do it. But what I also loved is that she didn't tell anybody. I think there's certain goals that you can have, and they say for accountability, throw it out there, your goals, but sometimes that's too much pressure and then you break. So I don't think there's anything wrong. Like you got to be the one that's accountable to yourself. Like when I was doing what I did back in the 90s, I didn't throw it out there to anybody what I was doing. I didn't tell my husband like I just said, I'm going to join this gym. I didn't give him a reason. Like I want this, I want that. I'm trying to make this. I just did it to myself. And that's the hard part too, guys. So anyway, let's see. So we need to stop being our worst enemies. And this kind of goes into conversations I've heard in the past week of just what comes out women's mouths. And then we laugh about it. I'm guilty of that. I will say many times, and I have really been aware that I say it like I'm not the brightest bulb on the tree. I got one bright one and that's it. And then I laugh about it. And that's my way of like, you're not very smart, Anna. I'm smart about one thing, right? So I need to, so little things like that. Listen to yourself, because I would always say that, and just now since we've been talking more about self-talk, I'm like, I say shit like that. What the hell, So, not the best positive mindset. Let's see. I'm hoping this is helping somebody. So, it was Saturday morning. I have a gentleman that comes to class. He fixes my computer and makes sure my printer is running great, and he hangs mirrors for me and shit like that. So one of the gals said something kind of like that. It was a little cut to herself, and then she laughed about it. And I just looked at Chris and I said, hey, do men talk like that to themselves, Chris? Because he hangs out with women a lot. He's married and all this kind of stuff. Would you tell yourself you're an idiot? Would you tell yourself like how stupid you were because you drank too much last night? He goes, no, guys don't ever talk to themselves that way. They think other people are stupid. they think, why would you tell yourself stupid? And I'm like, see, ladies, men don't do that. There's much differences between men and women, but what he said, it's just, they all were like, oh, men aren't going to say that, and we won't go on that, but just listen to that. Like, they wouldn't do that. So think kindly of yourself. So, all right. So I thought that was kind of funny. So let me take you quickly through, it's called The Perfect Week. And I'll be talking a little bit more about this at my Fit Day and at the symposium that I'm speaking at next month too. So perfect week obviously doesn't mean what you have in mind right now. So if you want to write a few things down, I don't have any notes, but I'm going to go through it. So your perfect week for next week is not going to be the perfect week for the week after. Like Holly, when Holly was gone last week on her vacation, that week could have been perfect if she wrote up a week to be on vacation. Right? So Sunday's a great day to just kind of look at your week. Do you have a dentist appointment? Do you have a hair appointment? Do any kids have doctor's appointments? Do you have any sports? Church? Do you want to get some reading in? When is your downtime? When, when are you going to get to the grocery store? How long does it take you to cook dinner? All of those things, right? So that is your perfect week. And like I said, this week is not going to be the same as next week. Like my week this week is not going to be the same as next week. So look at your week. Just go by Monday morning. Do you have what you need for breakfast? Are you going to get up and maybe do a little stretch before you work out or wake up? Do you need time today to go hit the grocery store quickly so you have enough choices for maybe Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday? Do you have time today to make a few pre-made meals because your Monday and Tuesday look really, really busy? So take a look, all the things, like what does your work day look like? Do you have a meeting? Are you going to have enough water with you? Are you going to have snacks with you so you don't have to run to the candies, and get a candy bar because you forgot whatever you normally bring or you didn't have it on hand? What does Wednesday look like? What time do you need to go to bed at? How are you going to be rested? Do you work out early on a Wednesday morning or do you work out later in the day? Do you have enough water? Like one of my things that I do now when I have these 8-week classes here, every night before their particular class, I'm like, looking forward to see you ladies. I can't wait to, train with you and have your training session go well tomorrow. And I'm always like, what's for dinner? And that's the day before. So the consistent mindset that I'm trying to instill is to already this morning, like I already know what I'm eating tomorrow. And if you have a large family, sometimes that changes, but look ahead and just make your schedule through like today to next Sunday. Really look at it because that's consistently will get better and better. Where on Sundays you're going to take 5 minutes, probably only takes 5 minutes. It's not something that is going to take a long time, right? But look at that. It's so helpful to like have a plan. You're more apt to like stick to a plan, learn from it. Like, oh, I really struggled because I didn't prepare for like Wednesday. And obviously things show up and, things like that. We're like, oh, that was not on my plan, but yeah, obviously, but yeah. And then look at the next week. So they'll think, do you go to church? Do you have, whatever, do you have a training you need to be on? Do you have a Zoom call? Just even those little things like that, your mindset's prepared when your workouts are going to be, instead of thinking, oh, I think I have time to work out on Thursday. So look at your schedule like I have time to work out on Thursday, or I don't have time to work on Thursday. So what other day can I work out on? Right? So that's super important. It keeps you accountable, number one, to yourself. And that's the most important person you want to keep accountable to. So I hope that helps. I hope you're writing some stuff down. If you have a journal or things like that, you don't have to journal all these feelings or do an evening journal. I mean, there's so many things that are thrown at you right now. Like, we got to journal this, you got to be this, you got to de-stress, you got to drink your water, you got to cold plunge, you got to watch after dinner, all these things. Pick one thing, even if it's just this, like pick your, like, I'm going to plan my week right now as best I can and stick to it. And then after, just think where that's going to be after 6 months. It's going to be like a no-breezer. It just automatically comes. Maybe you do your Sunday morning live with me, and that's when you do your week. Maybe you're doing it while I talk, right? So I hope that was helpful to some of you guys. I hope my story helped you, that it's not easy for any of us. I mean, I've been talking about squats and lunges and push-ups for almost close to 40 years now, so it's really not that exciting. But you just get to the point where you just do it, and you're happy, and you want to get to a place where you feel good in you as best you can, and that you've done the work to get it. I have a daughter who's my partner, and I just said this on Saturday to one of the groups, like, if I don't take care of myself, I got a daughter who's going to kick my ass. Like, you stop squatting in your 60s, mom, and now I got to carry your ass around as you're 80. So, right, so I got that. So think about that. Stay strong. It's way more fun. Women far outlive their husbands. Mine's 7 years younger than mine, so that's probably not going to happen for me. But you want to live your life and do the things you want to do. And I will share one more thing about my mom that I noticed, because she walked. She did the best she could. She totally fell into the fat-free 90s thing. Candy corn and jelly beans were okay because they didn't have any fat. She fell into the sugar. She was the classic menopause. Got the belly, got, dementia, got heart problems, had bladder problems because nothing was given to her, as far as all the estrogen things that you can do now and hormonal therapies, right? 100% classic what happened to her. She got small. She still went to the Y, but she swam mostly, took a sauna with her lady friends. Very few of them actually, if they did a little bit of Nautilus, maybe, but she walked to the Y, so she did all the walking, but she didn't keep her body strong. And I noticed when we were together, if I got away from her and watched how other people at stores and whatnot treated her because of her like frail beginning physicality, I didn't like that. Because she didn't have like a, like the posture changes when you take care of yourself. I don't care how short you are, I don't care what, but you just have a strength about you when you feel strong. And that is, it's different for me today than it was when I was 30, obviously, but I still feel like I got my shit together, as best as I can for right now. So I didn't like that. I watched it with my dad. He didn't do anything, and they just become these frail, and people treat you different. And if you're going to be a woman who's going to outlive and have to live by herself, you want to stay as strong as you possibly can. And that's the whole picture of better nutrition, helps you feel better, gives you energy, some movement, strength training at least twice a week. I'm not against running. People think I am. No, running's fabulous. If you want certain body composition changes, then maybe not long distance running is your only form. But do something for your body that helps you stay mobile, right? And strong. So that's where I'm going to end it today. I hope you guys enjoyed that. So have a great Sunday. Thanks.